Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ludney, and in today's video I want to talk to you guys about the city I live in, Montreal. I've been thinking a lot about like the cost of living in Montreal lately for 2026 and how much I really spend and all of us spend on our cost of living. So I've been living in Montreal for almost 2 decades now, and one thing for sure is like the cost of living always go up, like prices of everything always go up, and our salaries don't always keep up with inflation, which means like our salaries don't always keep up with the increase of the price of living, price of goods and stuff like that. So I think today would be a good video for me to talk to you guys about the cost of living in Montreal. Like we're gonna look at three main factors basically: housing, transportation, grocery, and at the end of the video I'll mention some hiding costs that I face in Montreal and maybe all of you face where you live also. So let's get started. Housing, it's most people highest expense every month. So in Montreal lately I've been looking at the prices of a 3.5 and a 4.5. A 3.5, which is like one bedroom apartment right now in Montreal, is around $1,400 to $1,900. And same thing for like a 4.5. A 4.5 right now in Montreal is between $1,500 to $3,000, which is crazy. But it depends on like which part of the city. Basically there's like most expensive part of the city, which is like close to downtown, Westmont and Montreal, those places, and the less expensive places in the city is like Hochelaga, Maisonneuve, Aronsic, a little bit depend, but mostly Montreal North, Rivière des Prairies, places like that. So I give you an idea if you would like to settle in Montreal, which places to look at based on how much you really want to spend on rent. And that's not all. When it comes to people who rent, because like the city, most people rent, it's like 70% of the people who rent, so 70% of people are paying rent that price, and 30% of the city who own. And when it comes to the national average in Canada, from what I've seen online, it's around like 30% of people who are renters. So it's a huge part of Montreal people who rent, basically. And I feel like the reason is like most people in Montreal are from elsewhere, or from like other countries, or immigrant, and also there's not a lot of places to rent. Housing market is not booming when it comes to like new development in Montreal. For businesses I see a lot of like new places, but like for renting, it's for owning, it's there's not a lot of single family housing being built basically. And another thing is people who own in Montreal, they own apartment or condos, and or like me, they own like a duplex where they live in part of it and rent the other part. So that's another thing to think of. And I feel like when owning is very expensive, at least like for me, I feel like it's twice to the price of renting. Like I could rent in a house like the less part of the city for like, I don't know, $1,700. Let's say I have 4.5, but for the same price, if I would pay mortgage, it would be like for my duplex, let's say mortgage is pretty expensive, and then taxes, and even for a condo you have HOA fees and a lot of other fees basically. Same thing with like a house, there's always taxes to pay and fees and stuff and insurance and stuff like that. So that's why I feel like it's very more expensive. It's more expensive in Montreal to be an owner. And I feel like if you would do it, you need to look at it as a long-term investment in like 20 years, 15 years, 10 years maybe, where it's gonna be worth it. But in the short term, it's not worth it basically to own. So let's talk about transportation now. In Montreal, which is a really cool thing, we have a good public, I feel like, transportation system, because it's a mix but like buses and metro system and train and now the REM, which is all the REM is like a faster train basically, which is really good if you live and work. For me it's like 30 minutes or 35 minutes depending. I have to take a bus and then the metro basically and then go to work. But in the winter, going shopping, and if I want to go outside of the island also, like going to Laval or Longueuil, I could still take the metro system if I want to. But inside of those Laval and Longueuil, the buses are not as well or as frequent basically as in the island of Montreal from what I've experienced. So that's why sometimes it's good to have a car or to have communoto, which is like a service where you can basically rent a car for a day to do other activities like that. So the transport to a single fare in Montreal, like just the island, it's 375 Canadian dollars, and for monthly it's $104 for a monthly pass, which is what I have. And people who live in Laval or in Longueuil, which is like cities outside of Montreal, but a lot of people live there and then work in Montreal, they have like what's called like a AB zone pass, which is a little bit more expensive than for people who live just in the island, which their pass costs around like $112 basically, and that allow them to take the metro, the bus, and the REM, and that way they can use all of the public transport, at least most of the public transport, with their card basically. If you're coming to Montreal for just a day, you can take like a pass which is like 13.75 for a day, or there's also like weekend pass and stuff like that that you can take. And most people, when they come to see the city first time, I feel like they stay in the island, so they don't need like an AB zone pass basically. Let's talk about groceries. Groceries are also a very expensive part of our budget monthly, because like we used to spend like around $500 monthly on one day for our groceries. Now lately it's been $700 a month. It's around like $700 for both of us. And I also bring my own food to work, but sometimes I have to spend at work too for coffee and stuff like that, but that's an extra expense. So when we go grocery shopping, we go to like the main stores, which is Metro, TNT, which is like an Asian shop. And we also sometimes use a subscription that we have with Fermlufa for vegetables in Montreal that are basically made in Montreal and stuff like that. So that's how we do our grocery shopping. I feel like it's a little bit expensive, but it's, yeah, it is as expensive as, I don't know to what to compare it, but I feel like groceries are becoming more expensive every year, and that's for all of us. I don't think it's just a Montreal thing. It's like groceries are just more expensive everywhere, so it's not less or more expensive in Montreal, I feel like. So let's talk about what I call hidden costs in Montreal. It's things that you need to know if you're coming to live here basically. Old houses in Montreal are not well isolated, and sometimes when you rent for the first time or you just come to the city, you just take a house, and then electricity prices are very high. Also, phone prices in Canada are higher than other places, and like phone plan, like unless you don't really want like access to the internet and stuff like that, then you can maybe find like a cheap version, but usually it's more than $60 a month or one day for like a phone with basic internet and stuff like that. And parking in the city becoming more and more expensive, and like the streets basically, it wasn't as expensive as that before, but they changed the law. For after 6 you don't have to pay for parking in the streets most places downtown. Now it's after 11, which is basically all day, and which make like parking in Montreal a little bit more expensive than it usually was. Hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment if you agree with my assessments about how expensive the city is becoming, and the cost of living in Montreal. And tell me where you're from. And thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.